All right, I just want to go over general sentence construction. Most sentences are constructed pretty easily, and I want to talk about what that looks like in English so that we have a reference point for German. Okay, as you can see here, I listed a few very simple and rudimentary sentences here. We have, all right, we see the dog, we see the dog. Tom drives a car. I like tall trees. You talk to people. I throw a ball to you. And let's just talk about general structure. We in this sentence, Tom in this sentence, I and you, all have something in common. What that is that they are known as the subject. Subject, okay? All right, so subject. We, Tom, I, you, I. Now, the subject is the person that is performing the action. So that's an easy way to remember it. And subject is a noun. And the noun is you might remember is people, places, or things. So it's pretty simple to figure out. So we ask ourselves a simple question: all right, is we a person, a place, or a thing? We is actually a person. Tom is a person. I am a person. You are a person. I could have written a sentence that like the dog sees the person, and the dog in that case would then be the subject. And the reason dog would be a subject is because it qualifies under the guidelines of number one, it's a noun, and number two, it's a thing, right? And places work as well. So if you had Paris is a beautiful city, Paris in that case would be a place, and it would be the subject of that particular sentence. All right, I think everybody's probably with me. Let's move on to verbs. Sometimes I just forget how to operate this thing. A verb is the action. So again, subject was we, and then the action here is see the dog. So Tom is the action is drives a car, and then I like tall trees is the action. It describes what the subject is doing. So that's your verb. You talk to people is the action again of what you do. I throw a ball. So I think you follow. So verbs are always actions. All right. So let me go ahead and write verbs. Verbs equal action. All right. The final two things we're going to talk about, and again, these are very simple sentences, but you're going to understand how this helps us when we start talking about the way to build simple German sentences. Is the next thing is direct objects. So let's talk about direct objects. A direct object is something that is receiving the action. All right? So it's receiving it. We see, and what do we see? We see the dog. So you can always ask the question after the verb, the action, the question is what? So Tom drives what? Oh, he drives a car. So car in this case would be what they call a direct object. All right? It's not a good T, but let's not worry about it. So I like trees, right? So again, this is a direct object. Now, what is tall? Tall is actually an adjective, and an adjective simply describes a noun. So it describes a person, a place, or a thing. So this is tall trees. We could say cold Paris, or Paris is cold in the wintertime, and the winter would actually describe the time of the year that we're talking about. So it'd be an adjective. So tall. If I said you talk to funny people, funny would be an adjective describing people. And again, people would be your direct object. It's whatever's receiving. Now I have this example here to point out. Let me just change colors. An indirect object. You wouldn't believe how many sentences are constructed of very simple styles using a direct object and indirect object. So in this case, to you is the indirect object, right? Because I'm not throwing you. I'm not throwing. Let me move this up here. Whoops. I'm not throwing you. I'm throwing a ball. The ball would be the direct object, and to you is the indirect object. Okay. Another way that we say it in English is I throw you the ball, which obviously in this case the ball would be the direct object, and you would still be the indirect object. We just choose to write this sentence a little differently. Now look at the flexibility of this sentence compared to this sentence. I throw a ball to you, and I say, I throw you the ball. It's quite interesting how they both mean exactly the same thing, and both ways of saying it is 100% acceptable. Matter of fact, we might change this around based on what we're emphasizing in a sentence. So German has flexibility like this as well. The funny thing in German, though, and we'll see this as we get further into it, is that I can actually say verbs, or I can actually say direct objects at the beginning of the sentence. I could say, the ball I throw to you. And that would be acceptable in German, and it, of course, is not acceptable in English. So I hope that it was a good refresher. We're not going to get into any prepositional phrase or subordinate conjunctions or anything like that, or I'm sorry, subordinate clauses, because I want to keep it really simple for right now. See you in the next lesson.